This is a topic that has been in the news a lot lately. It's definitely not a new issue, not a new lawsuit at all, but it's been in the news a lot more due to the most recent verdict. So I did want to do a video on it for newer agents that are coming up maybe on a year like me, or some that are really, really new, who are concerned about what's going on, just trying to make sense of it all and see where it puts you as a newer agent who is trying to start a business doing this. And so I wanted to really expound on the facts, and then I will at the end kind of tell you how I'm feeling about things. I do want to start off by saying a huge thank you to Karis and Chrissy. I follow them. If you do not follow them, you definitely should. They did a really great video interviewing Brooklyn Hahn yesterday. I believe they posted the video. It was the first video on the topic that really focused on facts, did not give a lot of realtor opinion. It was not really from a defensive standpoint for realtors. Brooklyn Hahn was a former figure skater who is a reporter now, who is following the trial and the verdict. She gave some really great information, even gave some thoughts that even Karis and Chrissy had not thought about. So I thought it was a really great video. If you have not watched it and you do not follow those two amazing ladies in real estate, you should definitely be following them. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Karis's last name correctly, but I believe it's Karis Eshol. And Chrissy also is a great individual. They work together on that video to really bring some great points out. A lot of the information that I have today, I did glean from that video. So again, I'm going to be kind of summarizing. Please watch that interview they did with Brooklyn Hahn, because it was really, really good. This is not over, so there should be more coming, but you definitely should watch that video to see where we are at this point. There are 4 main commission lawsuits that are really going on that this will be involving, and they're class action lawsuits either at this point, or they're awaiting class action status. And so there's already been a settlement that you may be aware of, and that involved RE/MAX. They settled for $55 million, and it also involved the Anywhere Brands or Anywhere Real Estate, and that was a settlement for $83 million. So both of those settlements sound really large. Now, whether to those on the other side of the lawsuit, if they feel like it's sufficient enough, probably not. That remains to be seen, but that was the settlement amount. Those settlements have not been approved, but those were the amounts that were offered for settlement from RE/MAX and Anywhere Brands and Anywhere Real Estate. Now, the Burnett case, where the verdict was most recently handed down against NAR and Home Services America and Keller Williams, that was due to the fact that they did not settle. The jury did award $1.8 billion, but because it is an antitrust lawsuit, that of course was trebled or tripled to $5.3 or $5.4 billion, which is a lot. And so that verdict confused a lot of realtors. There has been arguments on both sides. I'm not here to argue whether or not the jury should have found in favor of the plaintiffs, or if NAR and Home Services of America and Keller Williams should have been found in favor of. But I'm here to just expound on what that verdict means at this point for the industry. Now, there will be appeals, of course. Anybody who has even a minute understanding of the legal system understands that when you get a verdict in any trial, you do have the option to appeal, and of course that is what's going to happen. But as we sit right now, what does this verdict mean? Because appealing a verdict does not mean anything other than you're appealing the verdict. The verdict still stands. So the lawsuit is dealing basically with cooperative compensation, and it's dealing with buyer broker compensation. Basically, the seller paying the buyer broker out of the commission that is paid to the seller's agent is what's at issue here. Now, the 1123 hearing for the settlements will be held to determine if there will be approval for the settlement that RE/MAX and Anywhere Brands and Anywhere Real Estate offered. But they're both confident that it will be approved. along with the damage amounts that were given, which again with Remax was 55 million and with Anywhere it was 83 million. There are some provisions of the settlement, and a few of those are as follows. The agents would no longer be required to be members of NAR or abide by NAR's ethics or MLS guidelines. Also, they would have to be clear with buyers and sellers that the sellers don't have to offer compensation to the buyer's agent, and that fees and commissions are negotiable. Now, this is something that I was taught as a newer agent, and I thought should have been being done anyway, that any of the process is negotiable. Nothing is required or set in stone or an obligation for the seller or the buyer to do. But with the settlement, if it is approved, it would be an absolute must if you are a agent with Remax or you're a part of any of the Anywhere brands or Anywhere real estate, that you specifically make it clear that it is negotiable, that the fees, the commissions is negotiable. You will have to do that if the settlement is approved. But again, this is something that should be already being done anyway. Now, NAR and Home Services of America and Keller Williams, based on the interview that Karis and Chrissy did with Brooklyn Hahn yesterday, she indicated that they're waiting on injunctive relief. Now, what is that? A layperson as myself, I've had a few criminal justice classes, but I was not aware of what injunctive relief was. It just basically relief, it's a remedy in a civil case. It basically restrains a party from doing certain acts or requires them to act in a certain way. And it typically only is available when there is no remedy at law or irreparable harm will result if relief is not granted. So for the most part, just to give a layperson an understanding, someone who's a newer agent, an understanding of where we sit right now, business as usual will continue. If you were to have a listing agreement with the seller right now, they would, for the most part, still be paying the buyer's agent commission. What might happen with the injunctive relief, though, is that agents may not have to be members of NAR, and the judge may ask NAR to do away with the clear cooperation policy that requires a house on MLS to be listed. Well, let me go back. The judge may ask NAR to do away with the clear cooperation policy so that to list a house on MLS, you don't have to be a member of NAR, to just make that clear. And you would also not have to offer compensation to the buyer's agent. So that would be different because as of right now, to get a house on the MLS, you do have to be a member of the National Association of Realtors. One of the schools of thought would be that with the injunctive relief, that could be the judge's requirement, that you don't have to have that membership to be able to list a house on MLS. And the other thought would be that they could tell the industry that they must stop cooperative compensation practices altogether, which would mean that the seller pays for their own agent and that the buyer pays for their own agent. And so the main crux of the issue appears to be that you basically have competing parties when you're doing a real estate transaction. You have the seller's agent who has a fiduciary responsibility to the seller. You have the buyer's agent that has a fiduciary responsibility to the buyer. And although we work together in the transaction to get the home closed and sold, we have competing interests. And so what the lawsuit is indicating is that the parties that are competing were working together or colluding together to keep the commission costs raised, because the buyer's agents and the seller's agent, while although having these competing interests, they were inflating the commission costs and colluding together to do this. Again, I'm a lay person. You, as a newer agent, may be a lay person. It sounds a bit convoluted, but they basically were saying that they were colluding or working together to inflate costs, and they should not have been. And the sellers felt like although they signed a listing agreement, it was not clearly explained that they did not have to pay the buyer's agent anything, and that it may have been alluded to that if they did not pay the buyer's agent something, they would not be able to have their home listed on MLS. And so, again, there will of course be an appeal, but the verdict still stands. Home Services of America did request a mistrial due to the Tom Ferry podcast that I have not seen. I just heard about it again on the interview that they did with Brooklyn Hahn. But that motion to have a mistrial based on that podcast was dismissed. However, with the appeal, it could be looked at again, and if the panel of judges that are handling the appeal feel that there is some remedy that needs to be given based on that podcast, they could remand it back down to the lower court, and then there could be an opportunity to retry the case. But the appeal is not retrying the case. The appeal is just appealing the decision. The appeal is not even guaranteed. There's nothing at this point that is guaranteed other than that we should know that things are about to change. We're saying that right now is business as usual because this all started, the Burnett case started in 2019. It is 2023. The verdict was just handed down. We see how the wheels of justice are slow turning. So the final dust will settle probably years from now as well. But any business that plans on being here in the future does need to plan. And so as a realtor or real estate agent or whatever you call yourself, this is your business. So you would need to plan for potential changes in the future. And so what should those changes be? To me, they should not be dramatic. Again, you should already be making things transparent, whether you're speaking with a buyer or a seller anyway. So transparency is going to be key. You should all be expressing that commissions are negotiable and set between a broker and the client. As always, it's going to be crucial to maximize transparency with your clients about their choices and the terms of the agreement that they're setting with you when they're listing their home with you. You're going to want to continue to use the listing and buyer agreements to help your client understand that, one, your value, the services that you're going to be offering to them, and secondly, you're going to want to make sure they understand what you charge. For buyers, this may include options for offers of compensation for a listing broker or paying for your services directly or a combination of the two. For sellers, this may include options that allow offers of compensation to be made by their listing broker to the buyer's broker, and if so, how much and under what terms. These things are going to have to be made abundantly clear. And Brooklyn Hahn brought out something in her interview with Karis and Chrissy that I think is just so profound. If you have to repeat until your client tells you, hey, I get it, repeat it again and again, all of this is negotiable. You can negotiate commissions. You don't have to pay buyer's commission. If you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until your client says, is it that you think I don't understand you? Is it that you think I'm not hearing you? At least you know, hey, you know that I've told you, so that you're covering yourself, but you're also making sure that your client understands you don't have to do this. You're not required to do this. If you choose to do this, great. If you don't, great. This is not something that you have to do. If you're questioning what you should be telling your clients at this point, I wouldn't be just out here just broadcasting information, but if they ask, be transparent. That's going to be the most important thing. You shouldn't be hiding the fact that there has been a verdict. You shouldn't be hiding that the real estate industry is about to change. I would just stress that, for me, it's business as usual. I've been transparent with you about the fact that everything is negotiable. I've been transparent with you about the fact that you don't have to pay buyer's commission. I've outlined my value to you. I've outlined clearly the services that I provide to you. I've been clear with you every step of the way what I am doing to get your home sold. If you're working with a buyer, I have outlined to you every step of the way what I am doing to help you find your future home. If you're doing all of those things, you have nothing to worry about. All realtors are not made the same. In any business, no one person is made the same as the next, but you're going to have to hone in on your skills. And I think that's the main thing that I'm picking up on too. If you're a newer agent and you don't have any deals right now, you don't have any clients, please take that time to hone in on your skills. Read your contracts, know them like the back of your hand. Know your buyer's agreements, know your listing agreements. Know these things because they're going to be, if they were not ever important before, they're going to be ever more important now. Because we don't want to be parties of a lawsuit where we're being required to pay. Right now it's brokerages, right now it's NAR. But you don't want to be an individual party to a lawsuit because you did not dot your I's and cross your T's. You just want to make sure that you're doing everything to make it abundantly clear what is going on for the services and the fees and the commissions that are being charged. There are a lot of things that you can do to show your value. You can offer resources like pamphlets on why buying a home is easier if you use a realtor, or why selling a home is easier if you use a realtor, or why it's even important to use a realtor. There are, pamphlets you can give your clients as far as why it is essential to have a real estate agent. You can make sure that you give them testimonials from previous clients. Show them what you've previously done. If you haven't done any deals before, again, just make it clear what you are going to offer to get their home sold or get them into their future home. I don't think resting on the laurels of your brokerage anymore is going to work because, again, people are paying attention to what's going on. It's been all over the news. Any brokerages that have not been included in these lawsuits at this point probably will be. So just saying that, I'm with company XYZ, well, a lot of times that may end up being, well, hey, weren't they just part of a lawsuit? So that's not going to fly if you think that just name dropping the brokerage that you're with is enough to secure you a listing agreement or secure you a buyer allowing you to work with them. You're going to have to show your value. If it's never been important before, it will be ever more important right now. I do not think there should be a mass exodus of realtors or real estate agents or whatever you call yourself from the industry. So if you're new and you're thinking this is the exit sign for you, I don't think that is the thing that people are wanting to be the end result from these cases. I don't think the parties to the lawsuits are just saying we are just doing this so we can get rid of realtors and real estate agents altogether. I don't think that's what they want. I think they want fair play. I think they want transparency. I think they want options. I think they want the right to say, okay, I will pay the buyer's agent. I think they want the right to say, okay, I won't. And if they weren't clear on the fact that they've always had that right, I think they want it to be made abundantly clear that they have always had that right. And so that's what you're going to have to do now. I also think you might need to be preparing yourself for a world where you're not just listing a house and then sitting back and waiting on a buyer's agent to bring you a buyer. You're going to probably be prepared to have to go out and hustle for those buyers too. So unfortunately, that may be a situation where you're doing twice the work for half the commission, but it may be the world that we live in. And if you still want to be able to thrive in this industry, you're going to have to adapt to the world that we're now living in. And so that's going to mean honing your skills on getting those listings, but then also honing your skills on being able to go out there and actively prospect for a buyer. It's hustle. And that's what real estate always has been, from what I understood, is hustle. So if you're getting into this business thinking it's easy money and you're not prepared to hustle, then it probably is an exit sign for you that there are now lawsuits going on. I don't know a job that I've ever worked in where the company didn't have a lawsuit, unfortunately. So to me, it's not a sign that I need to leave the industry. It is a sign that I need to hone my skills. I've also worked for jobs that deal with contracts that people did not read, or they read but skimmed over. And I understand how the contract does not become important until we're getting to the situation where we're dealing with something where I'm telling you, it was in the contract, and now we're realizing that either you didn't read it or you just didn't see it. So it's going to be ever more important that you are transparent, repeat, repeat, repeat. You may feel like, well, I don't want to frustrate my client. I don't want them to, I don't want to make them think that I think they don't understand, they can't comprehend. It's not that, but I mean, I would be at the point where if I have repeated enough, hey, it's negotiable, hey, you don't have to pay this, my client was like, hey, I get you, I would probably stop there. But at least I know I've said it enough to where my client is saying, hey, I got it, it's negotiable, I don't have to do this. So I think I've repeated it enough on this video that you understand you're going to have to start maybe transforming the things that you say to get clients, and the things that you say throughout the process, the communication process that you have from the day you list the home to the day it closes is more than likely going to change. The things you do between listing and closing are going to change. But this is the industry that we're in now. This is what we're dealing with, and if we want to stay realtors or real estate agents or whatever you're calling yourself, we have to adapt. I would not say leave the industry unless you just don't think you can do it. If you don't think that you can hustle, that you can maybe work both sides of the deal, then you have every right to try to find something else to do. I just personally don't want to leave the industry because I put time in learning this, and I feel passionate about this. It is my business, and so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make that business succeed. So if I have to list your home and go out there and actively find you a buyer, that's what I'm going to do. But I think that is going to help me in the future, because it also will, show you, hey, she worked for me when I sold this home, so why not these 5 other homes? It's only going to do more to get you that repeat business in the end, which is what we're looking for. You want that rapport with your sphere of influence, so when it is hard and when people are scared about interest rates and housing prices, but also all of the things that they're hearing on the news about the real estate industry in general, you do have your sphere of influence to back you, to rely on. So this video was just basically to outline some facts. And again, I don't think we do it enough as realtors. I want to thank Karis and Chrissy and Brookley for just doing a video that was phenomenal. If you have not watched it, please go on YouTube. And if you can't get to it, follow them. Pretty sure there's a way to find it by following them. But they're phenomenal ladies. They do amazing real estate content. It has inspired me to do more content. They did a challenge that was just awesome, that really taught how to do the content for TikTok and other social media channels. And so I think they really outlined in that interview with Brookley, though, some really valuable information. It was more fact-laden than anything I've seen on the NAR lawsuit, and it really just made me think about the fact that, those who are fearful about what this will do to the industry, or those who are deciding that, hey, I'm just going to just cut my losses, are probably those who, we're just on the cusp of leaving anyway. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you should have already been, letting your client know things are negotiable. You should have already been showing your value. You should have already been outlining your services. You should have already been hustling for your client. A lot of times you probably were already trying to work both sides of the deal in areas where that was allowed. it's not going to change very much for you anyway in the short run because of the fact that there's an appeal, but it shouldn't be changing very much for you anyway because of the fact that it's stuff you should have been doing. It's stuff that you should want for yourself. If you were buying a home and you were working with a realtor, what would you want from them to make the process as clear cut as possible? That is what you should be wanting to provide to your client anyway. So I wanted to do this to kind of ease your mind because I've been concerned. I've been following it with an eagle's eye just to see what is going on. But the more that I've watched content and just followed the facts of it, I have felt better because, again, it's what you should be doing anyway. And I'm not fearful of remaining in the industry because as long as we adapt to the way that we're going to have to work, you can, still make the money that you want to make. But my desire to be part of this industry, my why, wasn't just about, the lining of my pocket. It was about the future that I could build, which of course has to do with that financial aspect of it. But it was the future that I could build as far as the generational wealth for not only me, but for my family. I want to help other families build generational wealth, but I wanted to make sure that my family members had someone they could trust to be able to guide them through their purchases of homes or their sales of homes, so that they could, show their children and their family members how to build generational wealth. And that would then lead to the ability to help strangers also, because my license doesn't just allot the time for my family, it's going to help other people too. So my why didn't really just have to do financial. That is a huge benefit that I could still get even if commission structures change, even if I have to hustle and work a different way. I don't think that I would leave just because I may have to work a little bit harder for that commission. The thinning of the herd may be, helpful to those of us who do stick around because, as we are showing our value to those who need our services, we won't have so much competition. And they may have worked with some of those who did leave, and they'll say, oh, well, this is what you do that those didn't do. So maybe that is why they left. And it's not about being hopeful that somebody leaves the business. It's about just being hopeful that we can get past all of the fears that are involved with this lawsuit, some of the distrust that maybe is going to come from this lawsuit. I don't think people should distrust realtors. We have a value. We are able to help people, make one of the biggest purchases of their life or let go of a home that, has been so fundamental to their family. People have had children that have grown up in these homes, and, we're helping them bring that home to someone else to make memories in. And we're helping first-time home buyers and military families, and you're helping people from a diverse group, because I am 100% for fair housing. So you're helping a diverse group of people make one of the biggest purchases, or to let go of one of the biggest purchases they may have ever made in their life. So you want to build that trust, and these lawsuits, as people who are not part of the industry don't really understand what is going on, may erode some of that. So those of us who stick in the industry will have to build some of that trust back. That know you, like you, trust you is going to be ever more important, and it may be a little bit harder for the like you, trust you part, because they may say, well, these people joined this class action lawsuit. How do I know that this won't happen to me? Well, you can come back with, well, we're going to be clearly outlining what I can do. Everything is negotiable every step of the way. You have a question, you have a concern, we're always able to hit a pause and talk about anything that's going on. So, hopefully that will ease your concerns. So I don't want this to get too long, but again, I did want to hopefully ease the concerns of a new agent who's seeing all of this on the news, reading about it online, watching videos from NAR, and maybe getting emails from NAR, or from your local board of realtors about what's going on, and just not really knowing if you've made the right decision. You have. Welcome to the industry. Don't leave the industry because of this. Just stand strong, learn what you can, hone in on your skills, know your contracts, be transparent, outline, show your value. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to make it. As the dust settles, as this plays out, we're just going to adapt. We're going to make sure we're taking care of our clients. We're going to make sure we're being ethically sound on what we need to do and say, and everything's going to be all right. Stay tuned for more videos. If you have any questions about the content that was included in this video, let's have a conversation. Leave a comment. Anything else you would like to kind of expand on, leave a comment about that. Any family members in the Florida area, if you know anyone who's moving to Florida, any family, friends, co-workers need questions about the Florida area. I am a licensed realtor with Caldwell Banker Realty in Navarre, Florida. I am Christina Johnson. I am happy to help you. I'm your go-to realtor here in Florida. I hope you all have a great day.